Hey, I'm Tuna, and I'm beating every PS2 game. Today's game just so happens to be Resident Evil Outbreak, an incredibly interesting time capsule of a game. It's a traditional horror title. You got the isometric camera angles, careful inventory management, and of course, the ruggedly handsome main characters. Unlike those classic Resident Evil games, this one is multiplayer, which is such a cool idea. To be honest, it kind of feels like a big budgeted mod, and despite being a PS2 game, it's still fully playable online even today. I'll include a link to a guide in the description, so check that out if you want to play too. Anyway, I played with my friend Joe from PS2 or Die. Check out his channel in the description too, because he's doing the same challenge as I am. So, if you like my videos, you'll probably like his too. Is this how we end, Joe? I can't... I can't... Is this it, Joe? I can't... I'm dead. Don't get mad, don't get mad, don't get mad. I'm getting mad. So the game begins, and what's really cool is the cutscenes that play will change depending on who you picked. Oh, this is different. Yeah, that's really cool.
Deal. So it's our characters in the cutscene?
Yeah. I chose Mark the security guard because he looks done with the zombie outbreak before it even starts. You can see the other characters in the cutscenes too, kinda just doing their own thing. Mark's vibing at Jack's bar with a coworker when a zombie comes in looking for snacks, and that waiter is looking damn fine. He pushes the zombie out, but it's go time. You're immediately dropped in, which is super frantic. If you like frantic, you're gonna love this game, because that's every level of this game. So the ultimate goal is to always escape the level, but of course, how you do that will vary. And every level has these little side objectives you can do to help yourself out. Like in the first level here, you can actually push the barrels in front of the door to buy yourself more time before the zombies break through. This is important because the main gameplay loop is running around the level, grabbing supplies, and solving puzzles. Usually these puzzles mean grabbing something from somewhere in the level and bringing it somewhere else. Though for that, you need time. You always need time. Another reason for this is everyone is infected. It's Walking Dead rules, which I actually think is a canon conflict with the Resident Evil series, right? I'm not a Resident Evil lore guy, but I don't think everyone has like the infection inside them at all points. I think that's because like Leon didn't turn, and like you have characters that have lived for a long time. Yeah, I don't know, someone in the comments help me out, but I'm pretty sure this game might not be canon. Anyway, that's how it works here. You can see this infection rate on the bottom right when you have the inventory opened up. It'll slowly climb to 100, so it's best to think of it as a timer. You can slow the infection down with healing items, but you can also speed it up by being bitten. Also, some characters have naturally faster or slower rates of infection. For this first part, we're just running around, learning the controls, collecting stuff, and otherwise getting our bearings. I actually played this game back in the day online with the PS2, but I've never been a huge survival horror fan, so I didn't spend a ton of time playing it, and I never did beat it. Though I can see this game being a wet dream for survival horror fans. It's such a crazy idea, and it actually works pretty well. After some time, the zombies break in, but we had enough time to grab mostly everything from the bar and bathrooms. The bartender spent the entire time sulking on the ground, so now he's dinner. That was my favorite dude.
He didn't try and run.
He literally laid on the ground the entire time.
Yeah, and he was the best guy here.
I liked his character. What was his name? Fred? Jim? You can also give items to your teammates, which is a neat function. There was no voice chat, but you can flick the right analog stick in a direction, and that'll have your character giving commands or comments, replies, or even to ask for help. It's a way to communicate with random people online, but you can also use it for your AI teammates. This game's got bots, by the way. They won't complete the levels themselves, but they're really helpful for grabbing supplies and fighting off enemies. They even have distinct personalities and relationships with each other. Someone more knowledgeable about this game can go deep into that stuff, but I couldn't tell you other than that it's there. You can ask for help if playing solo, and depending on your character, your bot teammate might even reply, telling you to kick rocks. Anyway, since I chose Mark, he starts with a pistol, which you can see bottom right. He's also too big to fit in some hiding places like lockers and under beds, but he's got a good shoulder charge to make up for it. All the characters have distinct abilities. Yoko can fall backwards and crawl away, which is like a super dodge. Kevin is an RCPD officer who starts with a powerful .45 caliber pistol. He can also get critical hits if you let him aim. George the doctor can brew herbs better, so on and so forth. Now, in my unqualified opinion, there's no one really amazing and no one worthless. They all can finish the scenarios just fine, so it's really up to personal preference unless you're speedrunning. The first part has a staircase that leads up to the second floor of the bar. Since we can't go outside, we gotta go up. But the key is found on the first floor. This teaches you the basics of the game and is a great tutorial without being explicit. It kinda tricks you. You're learning without realizing it. It's one of the better tutorials I've seen in games. So we grab the key, unlock the door, and head up to the second floor just as the zombies are boxing us in. Combat, like I said before, is just like the old games. You hold down a button to ready your weapon, whether that be a gun, melee weapon of some kind, or even a shoulder charge. Then X, I think it was X. You press X to attack once you're readied. You can pivot to change the direction, but you can't move while aiming. I don't think so. One really cool attention to detail is the blood splattering on the wall behind the zombie. You can kill enemies for good, but like in the old games, it's often not worth it, since they'll keep coming. Everything you do, including killing enemies, is just to buy you time. Also, goddamn, this game looks great, doesn't it? It's an early PS2 game, but it's one of the best looking. My friend Joe finds some wooden boards and a nail gun and blocks the zombies off behind us, but I'm distracted by his character model. Oh, your hands.
Yeah, what happened, Alyssa?
Ooh, granny hands. What's going on?
Poor Alyssa.
This is cool because the game never tells you you can do this. You just find some boards, a nail gun, and an open doorway. For puzzles, you're often given clues on what you need. For example, there's a blue marking on this door, so we need some kind of blue key here. This can be a bit difficult if you're playing online, since there's no voice chat. Does someone have a blue key in their inventory? You wouldn't know. Would they know to use it here? This is definitely a speedrunning type game. Once you know where everything is, the level layouts and characters, you can just zip through. Each level took Joe and I about 40 to 80 minutes. These levels are not short. That is, unless you know what you're doing and where to go. You can also find little memos around the levels that either give hints for what to do, special weapons or items to find, or just give you some background lore. Now, I can't tell you if these birds are zombified. I don't think so. Crows are just assholes. Take that, actually. Oh, we got a crow. It's gonna...
Iron pipe.
Crow's gonna attack me. Fuck off, crow. Get out of here, crow. No. Also, if you're grabbed by a zombie and have a pistol, you can kinda save yourself from taking too much damage. But Joe and I don't do so hot. Once you take too much damage, you'll fall down. You can get up by using a health item, being picked up by a partner, or by turning into a zombie. Yeah, you can become a zombie and even attack your teammates. Oh no. The wax needs to be replaced, but I mean, otherwise it's pretty good. Oh, you got back up. You're all better.
Now I don't care so much. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got kind of a weird gait to your walk, but yeah. Can you pick me up? Alright, I'm joining you. Alright, let's get out of here.
What are you doing?
Now, it's not like Left 4 Dead versus mode or anything, but it's so cool it's even included. This might be one of the only Resident Evil games that let you play as a zombie. Maybe the only one where you play as a regular zombie, not a special type of zombie. Like, you're not a BOW, you're just zombified Mark. But that's okay, because it's time to try new characters. I go for Yoko. We again get a unique part of the cutscene where she is in the bathroom cutting her hair short. Then after the first zombie, another mini unique perspective cutscene thing. It's not needed, but it's really cool it's included. So we begin another round, trying to beat this first level, and I'm already becoming a bit unhinged. So Yoko has a backpack with double the inventory space, and Joe's character, what does he get? He gets a coin. Ooh, she has a backpack with 4 extra slots, that's awesome.
What?
That feels OP.
I have a coin that I keep in my coin holder. Great. Great.
Mr. Coin Man.
That's what it is.
Gonna get eaten by zombies. I'm gonna be flip your coin man. We struggle for another 30 minutes trying to find the stupid key to get further into the building. What masterful hiding spot did Jack place it before his likely demise? In his desk drawer? Maybe a locker? Perhaps it's on his zombified person.
E with blue tag. What?
Oh, it's just on the table?
It's just on the table.
Just on the... we're dumber than the zombies. It's sitting in the middle of the room on the table. If you want to get unhinged, play this game blind with friends. Figuring out how it works is equally frustrating and hilarious. We finally make some progress, finally beating the first 2 rooms in the very first level. This is the liquor room, and from here we make our way to the rooftop, but not before I find a friggin' shotgun. Oh, Joe.
What's that?
I'm coming, Joe. Don't die, Joe, I'm coming. Oh, you don't even need help. What are you crying about?
Yeah, I'm dying.
You're all good. Look, I got a shotgun.
Oh, well, la-di-da.
Joe's not all that impressed, though. If you do play this game, one thing I wish I knew earlier was that the game actually does have a map. I believe you gotta find it first, but it helps so much. It shows you not only where to go, but also any items you run by. This is a godsend if you're like me and have a terrible sense of direction. A police officer outside makes an announcement about an extraction, so we got 3 minutes to make it there, all the while avoiding these damn birds. We need to make a jump, which doesn't go great. Oh god, the crows. No, Joe, help me.
I'm biting you. I can't.
I fall and Joe turns into a zombie, so that's Phil attempt number 2. Oh crow, my god, Joe.
No.
Joe.
I'm a zombie.
I fell to my death, so I think I got the better outcome.
Okay. I immediately changed into a zombie. I picked up a blue herb and was about to combine it, and then I just was a zombie. There was no in between. I literally just changed into a zombie.
Is your online handle, is your name Nut Hut? Attempt number 3, I'm gonna fast forward this for y'all. We make it back there, mind the gap, and meet up with the cops evacuating people, as well as this Chad. Occasionally, you'll fight alongside bots that aren't part of the main cast. If you're playing co-op, you won't have bots. Worth mentioning. Bots only play with you if you're playing solo, so it's just Joe and I, and the rare instance of a guy like Chad here. It's a mad dash through a couple barricades until we need to break down a door. Do enough damage to it and it'll trigger a cutscene. Chad dies, and we feel he could have done more. He didn't really put up much of a fight.
No, he didn't. Why didn't we help him? He honestly was.
That's a good point. We fight some zombies while spilling the gas, grab a lighter, and light it up. Then we head into the sewers before it blows. Uptown, we finally make it to the extraction point. It's only one guy with a van, and Joe and I. And the level is still going. I told you they were long. On the flip side, the van is full of shotguns, ammo, and health items, which signals to me that we have an upcoming boss battle. Turns out there actually isn't a boss, but instead a horde of zombies. We find 3 cops setting up a bomb next to a barricade, but of course, things don't go well. So we gotta find the parts for the bomb and get that sweet final cutscene, which, holy shit. We escape while the military moves in to quarantine the city. Now, I'm not sure how the lore of Outbreak fits with the regular Resident Evil lore, but I think it's all canon. Oh, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but this is easy mode. Yeah, we're playing on easy, and it's still really hard. So if you do play blind, I definitely recommend easy for a first time. Second level, and we find ourselves in an underground Umbrella Corporation research facility. There's an Umbrella employee here, and of course she's up to no good. She's killing people and grabbing samples for herself before she can skip town. Now, how did Joe and I find ourselves down here? It's never really explained. The game has like these scenarios, but they don't really connect with one another in a coherent manner. You just kind of plop there and there you go. So we run around for a bit in the tunnels collecting items and getting our bearings when a cutscene plays. It actually turns out that Yoko is an ex-Umbrella employee, or maybe an intern, but anyway, that evil woman has her at gunpoint, demands her keycard, and then runs off. She also accuses her of wanting the sample, and just basically a lot of projection. A lot of the characters in this game are comically evil, which I guess does fit the old Resident Evil style, but I do wish the writing was a bit better. Like, no one acts like this. I don't think so anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I have a feeling we'll be seeing her later. The beginning of this level doesn't have anything super noticeably different, but it is nice fighting zombies and exploring a level that's very different from the cityscape of the prior level. I mentioned my problems with the interconnectivity of the levels and how there is none, but one thing I'll give huge props for is that the levels are all very distinct. You never feel like you're in the same place from one level to another. You always feel like you're exploring some wildly different area. As we're collecting items, Joe tries to pull a fast one over me. I think he's gaslighting me or otherwise manipulating me.
Okay, what you were gonna give me something, correct? Was that what was happening?
Was I? Are you like Jedi mind tricking me? Oh yeah, you were gonna give me an item, remember? Was I?
No, you said you were gonna give me healing or something like that to hold on to.
As Joe and I are playing, I start to feel like all the Resident Evil games are kind of the same in a way, or at least bring you to the same places. I feel like Resident Evil's cool and all, but I feel like they reuse the same cliches over and over and over and over and over again, so it's the same settings.
Kinda, yeah.
Like how many Resident Evil games have we been in a cryogenic laboratory? I feel like that's literally every game. As we're exploring this level, we come across a ladder, but this ladder is blocked by a big plant thing. Now, the plant thing is, how do I say this? It's a bit suggestive, I'll put it that way. So, if you got a pure mind, I would recommend looking away from your screen now. Yeah, nice.
There we go. Oh,
No,
Lord.
that's not.
I mean, I don't know what else you could ever think.
Joe has a little bit of trouble figuring out the doors, but he eventually gets it. Just tell you're hitting the gym. Guess we just...
You know?
Joe's gonna figure out this door, just give him a minute.
What's...
just give him a minute, let him think.
Why would it not? Every time I walked up to it and pressed X, the second I pressed X, he'd start to grab the door like,
hey,
buddy, I'm...
As we went through, we ended up finding these frozen lizard guys. Now, I'm not a genius, but I have a hunch we'll be fighting them later. That's just a guess. We end up finding a guy dead and his hands frozen over the controls, but we find a blowtorch and solve that problem real fast, in a pretty disgusting way.
Yes!
Ah, we're cooking his hand meat, gross.
Ew. Now I'm hungry.
Fingers? This seems to heat up the entire facility, so I wonder how those frozen lizard guys are doing. A few minutes later, we backtrack, and of course, they come alive, but it's a new enemy type, so I'm gonna take it. During all this, we also find a key for the train and turnstile. I think there's a lift that goes up, so that's what we're gonna take. It might be our way out. As soon as we activate it, a timer begins ticking down, but it didn't tell us why or what it's for or what to do, so we kind of panicked a bit. Thankfully, it turned out just to be a timer for the lift, so all you gotta do is make sure you're standing on the lift once the timer hits 0, and you're all good. The woman from before also makes it to the tram that's going up, but she has a pretty bad time. Apparently she was infected by one of the samples she was trying to escape with and aliened herself. As we reach the top, the alien that burst from her somehow becomes bigger. I don't know how biomass just becomes bigger from nothing, but that's Resident Evil for you. Don't question it, stop thinking about it. It's time for a boss battle. There doesn't seem to be any special strategy with the boss battles, just kind of run around and do as much damage as you can to them. This guy will spawn off these little mini monster things and also spray acid. So if you avoid those and just keep dealing damage with the weapons you got, I think you'll pull through just fine. Joe and I get back on the tram or train thingy, take off, and then it says to be continued. Like I said, the levels don't really connect with one another. You just kind of accept it, but I'm excited to see what the next level is, so who cares? The third level begins and we find ourselves in an abandoned hospital. How did we get here from an underground research facility? I have no idea. Stop asking questions. Right as we're getting our bearings, this doctor comes in and explains to us that this isn't a good place to take shelter. But why is he here? He says he's leaving, but how did he end up being seemingly the only survivor? It's very weird. This entire game is very dreamlike. Nothing really makes sense. All the people kind of act like they're not really people. It's hard to describe, but if you played a Resident Evil game, you might know what I mean. It's definitely an experience, I'll put it that way. As you find memos, any important information in the memo will be highlighted with green. This is really important to keep in mind because this will usually be passwords or places you need to go, stuff like that. If you ever forget, you can also reference these memos later. Anything you pick up will be saved. As we're just exploring around, this weird maggot leech zombie thing comes bursting out of the ventilation. It's pretty spooky. Turns out you cannot kill this guy, no matter how much damage you put into him, so just avoid him. He's like Tyrant or that Rejuvenator guy from RE4. It's kind of a cliche to have an enemy that can't be killed, at least not up front, but it does make for a spooky sequence. We meet up with the doctor who manages to restore the power to the hospital, but not before he's attacked by that leech monster. He does his best to get away, but we have some choice words for him in his attempt. It's really bad, okay? It's really bad. I'm sure he's gonna make it out okay.
Oh yeah.
No, no. Never mind.
He's dead.
I'm being attacked by 2D GIFs. Ah. Oh no.
Oh lord.
Oh yeah, the zombie. Oh no. One really difficult aspect of this level is how big and confusing it can be to navigate around. You have 3 different levels for it, and it all kind of looks the same, so you kind of forget if, like, I need to go to the basement or do I need to go to the top floor. For example, maybe I need to go to a locker room because now I got a key for the locker, but I can't remember, is that in the basement or is that on the first floor, the second floor? Stuff like that's hard to keep track of. I would actually recommend writing physical notes for this game, or referring to the map, or just talking with someone, whoever you're playing with, to kind of help keep track of where to go and where everything is. I mentioned before about the leech monster who comes and tries to get you, but what's really cool, you can do this on every level. They'll have these hiding places you can go, usually lockers or underneath beds. Now, like I said before, if you're playing as Mark, who's bigger, he can't do this. But if you're playing as any of the other characters, you can get in there and hide like Alien Isolation. If you wait in there long enough, the zombie or whatever's chasing you will eventually get bored and go away. Also, if you're playing co-op, the leech monster can only go after one of you guys at a time, so if you split up, not only can you cover more ground and find items and potential keys and stuff like that, but if one guy's being chased by the monster, the other one is free to do whatever. This helps out so much, even if it can be a little frustrating for the player being chased. We eventually take so long in this level trying to figure out where to go or what to do that Joe becomes a zombie. Just to give you an idea, we spent over an hour and 15 minutes trying to figure this out. So we'll buckle in and try again. Of course, I'm gonna skip forward ahead for you guys.
I guess I can still. Ow! I was gonna help you search, but
It's too late for that. No regrets. It can be really difficult and even frustrating the first time you play a level, but once you know what to do and where to go, then it's nothing. You can just breeze through. So our third attempt, it's actually super easy, and what took us an hour takes us maybe 5 minutes. We know where to go for the code, we know what door the code unlocks, and we can just rush through without having to fight all the enemies. In this specific case, it means unlocking the second floor of the basement. We can throw the leech guy into a type of infernus room and melt all the zombie leeches on him. You can also use blood packs you find around the level to put them on the ground, and that'll make the leech zombie go after him, which buys you more time. In the second level of the basement, past the leech zombie that we finally defeated, we also find a boat. We can use this boat to escape, but not before running into a whole bunch more of those leeches. With so many leeches, of course, means a final big leech boss battle. I wonder if we just... Well, give us ammo, so I guess we just unload on it. Alright,
oh my god,
is that close enough?
I have no clue.
I guess we shoot it. Oh, thank God.
Oh my god.
Please let that be it. Next level begins, and we're at some kind of apartment building, but first there's a cutscene about 2 firefighters who are checking it out. They're in full gear and everything, and it seems like they're doing their job, which is really confusing because I think we're still in Raccoon City, and if we're still in Raccoon City, why aren't they evacuating, or why aren't they trying to survive? I don't understand why they're trying to put out fires or whatever firemen do. I'm not sure. I'm not a firefighter. The point is, what are they doing here? It feels like you'd have bigger priorities. Now, if you thought any of the other levels were confusing or difficult to maneuver around, you haven't seen anything yet, because this level, oh my god, it's just an apartment building, and it's like a square, and in the middle you got the courtyard, and then you just have all these identical looking apartments next to each other. Now there is some environmental storytelling with the apartments, and pretty much every level in this game, which I'll actually give huge props for, but it's just, if you've seen one apartment building, you've kind of seen them all. Like with every level, Joe and I split up and we begin searching for keys or any kind of items that are going to help us and just kind of figure out where to go. That's pretty much the MO for every level in this game. If you like exploration, I think you're really going to enjoy this game. Sometimes we gotta meet up, and sometimes we have to crawl above an abyss while fire shoots out from inside the building. This game doesn't have these doors very often, but once in a while you'll find a locked door that you can actually bust down. If you do enough damage to it, you'll eventually break the lock. If you use a melee weapon or even a gun, it'll do way more damage, but you can just shoulder charge it. Of course that'll take forever, but it is possible. Ooh! Perseverance.
Yeah.
For the overwhelming majority of our playtime, the game ran fine. I actually super recommend it, and I can't thank the people who are keeping the server up and running enough. They did an amazing job. Now, sometimes there are issues, like here with this licker, he's kind of phasing through the ground and then reappearing. But honestly, I think that's the fact that I live in Japan and I'm playing with Joe who lives in America. So, you know, keep that in mind. But for 99% of the time, it works absolutely fine, and I was actually blown away by how stable everything was. For this specific level, you end up finding this map in a room of Europe. You gotta find all the different pieces to the map in different rooms throughout the apartment complex. Once you find them, they'll light up the big map. Why is this a puzzle that helps you get out? Again, it's Resident Evil rules, don't question it, but it does make the game pretty fun, if a bit confusing. Joe and I finally make it to the entrance of the apartment, but the door is locked and blocked by a female licker, which makes me uncomfortable. Unfortunately for her, I have a grenade launcher with plenty of ammo. I guess this counts as a boss battle? I don't know, this is like the worst boss battle in the game, so take it for what you will. Anyway, we end up killing her and getting saved by some firefighters. I don't think they're the same firefighters from the start of the level though, I think these are new guys. After every level, you'll get these inner monologues about what the character's feeling and thinking.
I'd rather not see tomorrow anymore.
True.
I was really thinking like that until a few minutes ago.
Jeez.
This nightmare is too much for me. But I'm alive now, and somehow that comforts me. I'll cling to this.
We also get confirmation that we are still in Raccoon City, because at this point I wasn't sure. That wraps up another level, and that almost took us 2 hours to beat. I wasn't lying when I said these levels are long. Anyway, I'm super curious to see what the next level is, so let's take a look. Next level takes place in a college, which is actually a really cool idea for a level. Now, this is just my own personal theory, but I'm pretty sure the makers of this game thought of like what levels or where we can go, and then just kind of made a story around that. So they looked at like an underground lab, college, apartment buildings, and then they thought, okay, how do we connect these 3 locations with each other? Because otherwise none of this makes any sense. Anyway, we meet our villain, and suffice to say, Joe and I are not very impressed. Dollar store
The
Wesker.
important becomes overshadowed by greed. Mass production?
Poor dude.
Ridiculous!
This level has a lot to do with George, the character you can select from one of the other 8 playable characters, which is really interesting. I guess the only other level like this is Yoko with the underground research facility. He's actually an NPC running around, but he's kind of a special NPC. He doesn't act like a bot. He has these very scripted segments where he'll go to a certain place and then wait for you. I do kind of regret not playing as George in this level, just to see how that would work, I suppose. It seems like it would do something maybe a little different. So if you know, please leave a comment letting me know, because I'm super curious. And because this level does take place in a college, there is of course a whole bunch of puzzles and secret areas and little doohickeys to find. It's chock full of that kind of stuff. One really cool thing about the combat is if you get a melee weapon and 2 enemies next to each other, you can actually hit both of them with just one swing. I know it's not like the biggest deal, but I really notice when games do this, and I love it every time. It makes me feel like Guts from Berserk. As we're exploring this place, we find an elevator that's locked. We also find a computer terminal that has 4-digit activation code, which is probably for the elevator. What's really cool is that the activation code for the elevator is actually found in 2 different memos. You gotta put them together to get the code. So you'll have 4 on one, and then the rest of the code on another memo. Do I have any? 032. 4032.
032. Okay, activated.
I know it doesn't sound like a big deal when I'm explaining it, but it makes you feel kind of smart or clever when you're actually doing it in game. You feel like you accomplished something. So with that, we can go down further into the campus facility. This will have a bunch of research stuff, so it's clear that they're doing something spooky down here, probably nothing good. We find George, but he's just kind of laying next to the wall. He says to go on without him, and he might catch up later. Why? Is he bitten? I don't know. Probably not, but again, he doesn't really act like a human, so your guess is as good as mine. Going past George and outside the campus, there's this water part that is pretty spooky, I'm gonna tell ya. I'm gonna cross this pier and get eaten by the shark. Ready? Baby shark, baby shark. Oh god. Just past Baby Shark, we can see Umbrella forces trying to subdue this tyrant looking dude. They're of course not very successful, but I think they're trying to get the blood from him, or like a blood sample or a tissue sample. Suffice to say, they all get killed. Where's the blood? Lame. Oh, there we go.
Like so cheesy.
Impressive. I won't underestimate it next time. It must be going to the man. Might as well set it up. Just in case.
This motherfucker.
Joe and I find another lift that goes up. Underground, there's this weird bug hive thing, and we're trying to get out of there, but there's lots of items to grab and also lots of enemies, including these flying hornets. You could just kill the hornets, or better strategy, just run around a bunch. Once we return from the underground research hive bug infested place, whatever you want to call it, we're chased by the tyrant, which is kind of a ripoff of RE3, but it worked there, so I think it works here too. Now we're trying to create a cure or vaccine for the zombie virus. We think we can use the research facility stuff in order to do that, but we also need the T-blood from the wannabe tyrant. You can get this by luring him to an area and shocking him with a wire. That'll stun him and give you enough time to grab it off his back. Now that we have the blood and everything we need in order to create a vaccine, we gotta rush back to the facility that's underground. All the while, the tyrant's still chasing us. He's fat. What did he take? The express elevator? How the hell did he get here before we did?
I know.
Next to the underground research facility, there's also this water purifying plant. And there's also these lizard guys who I think are from the second level. I think they're reusing them. But anyway, they're super frustrating. Specifically, there's one part where you need to shimmy over this water that they're inhabiting, and geez, if you fall in, it is over. It'll let you swim, but trust me, there's no way you're getting out. Me and Joe are like an hour into this level, we both fall in, and we both get eaten, and there goes an hour of our time. My biggest issue with this game isn't that there's no save points while you're playing a level, it's that you can go an hour in, die by something that's really cheap, or at least feels cheap, and then it resets you all the way to the back. Now, I don't know how to fix that. I don't think checkpoints are the answer, but just some of the deaths in this game are ridiculous. It doesn't feel like they're earned. It feels like you didn't know how this mechanic works and we're just gonna kill you and send you to the back. I don't know a better way to do it other than making the deaths or the game mechanics more easy to understand for some of the special stuff it has. I can think of 3 specific examples in mind. One is this water part right here with these guys who eat you. Another is when Joe gets pulled through a window by a zombie and there's seemingly no way to fight back, it just kind of happens. And the third is the very first level, when you have to jump that gap. And if you fall because a bird hits you, there's nothing you can do. You just instantly die. And because it's near the end of the level, that's like the most frustrating time for it to happen. So we end up failing here, but it does give us a great opportunity to just see what the other crazy characters can do. This game actually has a lot of weird mods and stuff like that, so I end up picking this dude who I think has really good stats, I'm not sure, and Joe picks Mr. Yellow. As we're attempting to finish the vaccine, called Daybreak, the scientist from the start of the level runs into us. He rambles about how the original T project, that's the zombie virus, was a failure, but how it'll be different this time. As he's doing this, the Umbrella Commando from before assassinates him in a surprisingly brutal cutscene.
Farewell.
Uh-oh.
Oh damn, that's more gory than I thought.
Oh, shit. Yeah, damn.
This commando is named Nikolai, and he actually showed up in RE3. It's neat seeing recurring characters in the spin-off series. Before he takes off, he plants charges that are gonna blow up the entire area, so we got less than 6 minutes to get out of here. We're not really sure where to go and time's running out. Right as it does, I run inside a building because I think that's the way to go. Turns out it was the opposite. What you need to do is stay outside. What does this mean? Well, it means I'm dead and Joe lives on to fight Tyrant, who is the final boss. I just went in the building and there's 1 second left, so I might be dead.
Oh, no. I'm outside.
Yeah, hopefully you can finish it. Yeah, I'm dead. Joe ends up beating Tyrant by himself. I wish I could have been there to help him, but he does a great job.
I don't know if you can beat him otherwise, but what you're supposed to do is walk him around the arena until you can go pick up an item on the side of the map called the ampule shooter, and you put daylight into the ampule shooter and then fire it at him like a gun, and it just immediately cures his zombie virus, which is pretty much all he is made of. So I sneak up behind him and shoot him in the ass. He dies in dramatic fashion. We get the hell out of there. Now, here is what you can do apparently. Now, I just learned this, so don't take it with a grain of salt. I'm not sure exactly, but there's 3 different endings you can get here. One of them is if no one gets the daylight and gives it to themselves. That means you just turn into a zombie, and on the helicopter ride out, you actually you see yourself eating the pilots of the helicopter. But if you take it for just yourself, and the ending has you escaping normally without anything bad happening to the pilots. But there is a third one. If you bring an even extra sample with you, you can actually use that sample to cure everyone in the world, meaning that no one will ever have a zombie virus outbreak again. So we didn't do that. We just didn't know there was a third way we could grab an extra one. We just didn't know. So yes, it was great, but we didn't cure the world of the virus. So yay, we screwed up. Everyone's gonna, turn into zombies because of us.
And that's the end of Resident Evil Outbreak, which is really good. It may not be my super cup of tea, but I still had fun, and if you like Resident Evil games, especially the classics, I think you're gonna love it. It's also really easy to set up. Again, there's a link in the description on how to do that, so if you want to play online, there's still people playing, I think you'll have a blast. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. You can subscribe if you want to help out the channel and see the next game. I think it'll be Jak and Daxter. I'm almost done. I know I said that last time, but yeah, I'm almost done. Thanks again for watching. See ya.